Once upon a time, in a village where no birds dared to sing, there lived a girl named Alara. She was poor, shunned by the villagers. They called her a freak, muttering that she couldn't possibly be a normal girl with a gift like that. Yet she carried a gift no one could explain, something she couldn't control, something that terrified and fascinated them all. She spent her days like any other girl, weaving cloth on a simple wooden loom. But by night, when the silver moonlight poured through her window, her loom came alive. Instead of thread, she pulled strands of darkness itself from the corners of the room, unraveling shadows, twisting them into fabric, stitching together scraps of nightmare. By morning, she had cloth to sell, midnight spun. It was thread that didn't unravel, a shadow stitch that held. Her fabric was flawed, but it was useful. The villagers whispered that her cloth could steal a soul, and yet they bought it in secret. For her fabric could hide any scar, erase any shame, cover any sin. A man with burn scars across his face bought a shadow scarf, hiding his features. When he walked into the marketplace, his face looked flawless. A young mother used a black shawl to hide her illegitimate child. She paid Alara with trembling hands, clutching coins she likely stole. The girl became known throughout the land, feared and revered, hated and envied. Some said her power was a curse, others claimed it was a blessing, but none knew the truth. Then, one stormy night, when the wind clawed at her door and the rain beat against her window like 1,000 tiny hammers, a stranger knocked. He was cloaked in silver, his face hidden beneath a deep hood. His eyes gleamed like frost, sharp and cold. He dropped heavy bags of gold at her feet, enough to buy her freedom, enough to make her dreams come true. "I need your help," he said, his voice a sliver of ice. "I want you to weave for me. Make a cloak as long and wide as the night itself, a garment so vast it can cover the entire kingdom. In return, I will give you untold riches. You will never know want again." Alara hesitated, fear wrestling with greed in her heart. But how could she refuse such an offer? She had spent her life weaving in the shadows, living on the edge of the village, surviving on scraps of food and old rags. What if she could do this? What if she wove a cloak for the mysterious stranger? Then she would not be a poor girl whispered about in dark alleys. She would be remembered as the greatest weaver who ever lived. So she agreed. But every night she wove, the cloth stretched further than her walls could hold. It spilled out into the fields, across rivers, and into the forests. Wherever the shadow touched, light vanished. Candles snuffed out, birds fell silent. Even the stars above grew faint. As she wove, she heard the screams of frightened animals, the rustle of disturbed spirits. Once she saw a ghost rise from its grave, drawn by the spreading darkness. But still she wove. She wove until the cloak was finally finished. The stranger returned, his silver cloak dissolving away to reveal the man in black. Or maybe it was the other way around. Maybe he was always the man in black and the cloak was just a lie. He was no man at all, but the Shadow King, ruler of forgotten things, his bones made of night, his eyes burning embers. He reached out a skeletal finger and touched her chin. "Well done," he rasped, his voice like grinding stone. "You have woven perfectly. Now let us see how it looks on me." Alara screamed, realizing what she had done, but the king only smiled. "You were never weaving for me," he whispered. "You were weaving for yourself. Every thread spun from your envy, your hunger, your secret longing for more than this village gave you." The cloth turned against her, binding her wrists, pulling her closer to the loom. She struggled, begging for mercy, but each movement only wove faster. The shadows wanted her. They had always wanted her. And so, Alara vanished, her screams swallowed by the night. There was nothing left but a single spool of black thread, still warm to the touch. It whispered softly in the dark. The kingdom still lies beneath that cloak of night. And sometimes, when the moon is heavy, villagers swear they hear a loom and a girl's voice asking, "What would you give to be unseen?"